Welcome to the Adult Basic Skills Professional Development video series. Throughout our productions, we are committed to excellence in adult education and professional development in basic skills instruction. The goal of this video series is to improve the effectiveness and quality of instruction through focused professional development.
What do these adults have in common? You may not be able to tell by looking at them, working with them, or talking with them, yet they have a common problem that makes it difficult to learn. What are the common characteristics these adults share?
I think we're all out here to get our GED and further our education.
What goals do they have for their lives?
When I further my education, I want to be able to help my grandson so I can show him some of the things that I did when I was in school.
What help do they need to accomplish their goals?
Good instructors that will help and take the time to teach them the basic skills that they will need.
How can learning difficulties be identified, and how can instructors teach to address individual student difficulties? This video focuses on the needs of adult students who have learning difficulties. It demonstrates strategies that have proven effective in helping adults with learning difficulties realize their goals as a result of instructors carefully planning each facet of every lesson. The strategies featured in this video are supported in the research literature. They have been carefully selected because every instructor can effectively incorporate them into lessons that will meet specific learning needs and foster self-confidence of adult students with learning difficulties.
So, are you excited about your first semester teaching?
Oh, I am definitely excited, but I'm a little nervous. I don't have tons of experience working with adult students.
Yeah, working with adults can be different. Did you know that between 50 and 80% of the students enrolled in adult basic education and literacy programs have learning difficulties?
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it sure is.
What exactly do you mean by learning difficulties?
Well, learning difficulties is really a generic term. It refers to a group of disorders that at first may seem to be different, but on further examination, they're common in adults who have difficulties in learning and applying reading, language, math abilities, and social skills. These adults have problems associating sounds with letters. They may have difficulty remembering sight words, and often they can't understand the meaning of a group of words like those in a sentence.
What do you mean there are adults who lack the skills for listening, reading, writing, speaking, and reasoning?
Yeah.
And many of the adults in our literacy classes don't even realize why they're having these problems. Only a small percentage of the adults who have learning difficulties actually have learning disabilities. Many who have supposed learning disabilities were simply not taught in a fashion that met their unique way of learning. If a person does have a true learning disability, then legal testing as well as instructional issues must be considered. IDEA outlines the legal procedures for providing educational opportunities to students with identified learning disabilities.
That means we must know how to make accommodations so the adults can learn despite their learning difficulties and disabilities.
That's right. For example, very few persons with differences are provided accommodations for taking tests, even tests like the GED.
No wonder our adult students become so frustrated in class, as well as their everyday life.
Yes, and it's really hard on them to go through life not knowing why they can't do certain things. Not only the adults, but their employers also become aware that their skills just don't cut the mustard, as my grandpa used to say. Then they come to adult basic skills programs, but the support isn't there because the programs are unprepared to serve their needs.
The course that I want to take in math, they don't give it anymore. Could you give me some advice?
Oh, well, now that math class, we're not giving it in the lab right now because we don't have enough students who need it. But did you think to check with the counseling office to see if maybe it's being offered somewhere else on campus?
No, I did not.
Well, why don't you check with them and then...
Well, so how do we begin designing programs for adults who have learning difficulties and disabilities?
Well, let's visualize a scenario. And we'll begin by setting goals with the student. Okay, Bill, I'd like to start off by asking you some questions so we can design a program that meets your specific needs.
All right.
First, why are you interested in coming back to school?
Well, I don't read or write very well. Now, don't get me wrong, I can get by, but I don't do either one of them very fast. And then there's math. Math just it just scares me to death because I know I can't do it.
Okay, so your goals for getting a new job are to develop your skills in reading, writing, and math.
Well, yeah, I think that would help a lot.
Developing skills in these areas will definitely help when you apply for a new job. But something else that's often overlooked is the ability to communicate with other people. Sitting here with me is no problem, but during a job interview, things are a little different. Sometimes you get nervous.
Yeah, you're right. I think maybe we better add communication skills to that list too.
Let's see. The next step will be for you to consider how you're going to achieve these goals. Have you got any idea of how you're going to meet the goals you've set to learn and get a better job?
Now, you better give me a minute on that. I don't know.
Okay, I can help. Let's take a few minutes and figure out fun and creative learning techniques that'll appeal to your interests. This will help you as you develop your reading, writing, math, and communication skills.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay, now I'll write down your plan as we create it. And if we can identify some of the things that interest you in everyday life, then we can apply those interests to your lessons. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
So what are your interests or hobbies, or how do you spend your free time?
Well, I don't have any real hobbies. Well, I like fixing cars and painting them and that sort of thing.
Okay, now that's perfect. So how did you learn to paint cars? I mean, rather, when you need to learn something new, maybe for work or something, what do?
I guess I watch people. Yeah, I watched my daddy, and he taught me how to sand out rust spots, and then how to mix the Bondo, to fill them in.
Oh, yeah.
And then he taught me how to mask off a car to paint it the way that I wanted to. And he helped me learn how to use the spray painter. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I guess I watch people. I watched my daddy, and then I did what he showed me to do.
Well, I tell you the truth, I would never try to paint a car. I'd make a mess.
Oh, no, it's easy.
Yeah, that's easy for you to say. That's quite a job, an expensive job, especially if I messed up or globbed the paint or missed a spot. It's interesting because sometimes learning new things means that we have to leave our comfort zone and take risks, whether it's learning to paint a car or read a book.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but I never thought about that way before.
We're all unique. We all do things differently from one another.
Yeah, I guess that's why they say that variety's the spice of life.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we've identified your interests and possibly even one of your learning styles, visual. Now we have to think about how you're going to prove that you have met your goals. How do you think you can prove this?
Well, I guess I could take a test.
Well, tests are definitely appropriate in some situations, but they aren't the only way to see if you've learned what you set out to.
Well, I guess if I can read and write better and get where math doesn't make me so nervous, I guess then I would have reached my goals.
That's right.
You make it seem so simple, but I know that when you talk with a student, your positive attitude towards the student who has the learning difficulty really makes the difference. You really believe in adult basic education for students, even those who may have had a difficult time learning in the past.
I really do believe in them. I know every adult can learn anything in his or her own way, given the opportunity.
I can practice goal setting, but then how do I use that information to decide what and how to teach the adults who have learning difficulties?
Well, let's think about what I just did with that student. I think maybe watching me plan my class may give you an understanding for planning your class. Maybe I can explain what's going on in my mind so you can see the thinking process that I go through. Understanding what's going on in someone's mind is called metacognition. Let's see. I need to tell the students exactly what the lesson will cover and each step they'll take to accomplish the lesson objective. I need to use an example that the students can identify with, maybe even several. Let's see, how about one for family application and one for the workplace and one for everyday life in the community. It is difficult to give examples and models while at the same time challenging adults to use their new knowledge, take risks, and develop a unique product that demonstrates their understanding. However, the following ideas will help you as you teach your adult learners. 1. Demonstrate a positive attitude. 2. Believe in adult basic education for all adults. 3. Every adult can learn anything in his or her own way. 4. Tell the students exactly what the lesson will cover and each step that they will take to accomplish the lesson objective. 5. Use examples with which the students can identify. 6. Show a finished product model for review. 7. Write teaching notes so students have specific and concrete class notes. 8. Use as many different forms of directions, tests, assignments, and schedules as necessary, both oral and written, to meet the needs of the student.
Wow, those are great tips for planning lesson plans for the adult students who have learning difficulties. You put so much effort into your lesson plans. Wouldn't it be helpful for your plans to be written out and put down in concrete notes?
Yes, that is exactly what needs to be done. Adults who have learning differences need directions, tests, assignments, and schedules in as many different forms as possible. We need to have information in both oral and written forms.
So, would it be safe to say that you actually begin the teaching process when you create lesson plans?
Yes, I take the special needs of my students into consideration when planning my lessons. And that way they learn the most.
Then how do you translate your plans to the actual classroom so the adults' learning difficulties are not difficulties anymore?
I tell you what, can you come to my class tonight and see how the lesson goes? We can talk about it afterwards.
Sure, but I better get going if I'm gonna make it back to your class on time.
Okay, I look forward to seeing you tonight. Class, now that you've picked an article that you like, I want you to read through it, and as you read, highlight any words that you're not sure of, and we're going to add those words to our vocabulary lists and work on them in another class, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, hi, Sonia. Class, you know Sonia. Yes. She asked if she could come and sit in with us tonight and watch what I do in this class, so she might be able to use some of our activities with other classes. Okay, Esther, have you got any words that you want to throw out for the class in your article?
Yes.
Okay. What have we got?
CAC?
Is CAC a word?
I don't think
I'm
so.
not sure. Have you found some words that you need to check up on? I think I could do the same thing at home sometimes and sit down with my magic marker.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, folks, open your books to the first story. Now they've got it. Okay, Will, you say you think you might have made a little bit of an error in some of your calculations on this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why don't we work our way through the problem and see if we find out where you got off track? Okay, tell me what you did. Longer exists is what's on this globe as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. What we always thought of as Russia, because Russia was the control. Whew, class always seems to just fly by. So, did you gain some insights into teaching adults with learning difficulties? What did you observe in the class that was designed to especially meet the needs of adults who have learning difficulties?
I wrote down about a dozen observations. Let's see. I noticed that you made eye contact with each student in class.
Yeah, eye contact encourages students to remain on task.
I noticed that you called on one student to respond and
I'm
knew
not
the
sure.
answers. But you called on another student when the subject changed, who seemed to be the class expert.
Yes, today Tanya and Willie were. Tomorrow it'll be someone else. It's important to build on the students' strengths, what they already know, rather than always focusing on their weaknesses. They already know what they can't do. Instructors need to encourage them with what they can do. You mentioned here in your notes that the lesson relates to practical everyday applications. That's something that must be done in every reading lesson. Remember when we asked the students about their goals? I used that information to plan the examples that make the lesson applicable.
You know something else I noticed, that you had reading materials on each student's reading level. For a large group, I always thought that every student in the class had to be on the same thing.
Oh no, but we do all work on the same lesson objective. Because all the students are on different reading levels, I select a topic from the interview information, then find appropriate material for each learning need. I teach the objective to everyone at the same time. Every student then learns at his or her own level and pace. For some students, I use demonstrations and maps. For others, I use charts and graphs. Others require color transparencies to discriminate the print from the background. Some brains seem to need color to aid processing. When we hold a seminar, everyone participates in the discussion based on what we read. It works wonderfully for adults with learning difficulties. Everyone's successful when I vary teaching strategies and materials.
I see. I had never thought to teach by topic to the whole group while varying the reading level of the materials. The class is really student-centered. You teach and reteach as you monitor the class.
Doing what we just did is another strategy for working with adults. Instructors work together to share ideas or opinions. It does me good to reflect with another professional about my teaching. I also find that it's good for both the students and me when I talk with them about their learning process. We talk about what does and does not work for them.
Teaching adults with learning difficulties requires that instructors be continuously aware about what they are doing and how it is perceived by the student.
Yes, and it wears me out. My brain even hurts sometimes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Guess who I saw in the parking lot a little while ago? Willie. He is just like a different person.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I saw him after class yesterday, and he is proud of what he has learned. He said the boss at work has even complimented him on the improvement on the job.
I really believe in helping the students be successful every chance I get. I like helping them be successful.
The teacher's attitude toward the student does make a significant difference in their progress.
Well, the students tell me that is true. And the feedback from the students is what I use to help me plan my materials in class, and it also lets me use their feedback for some adjustment and modifications in my materials.
You know, we're really lucky to have such good instructors. Mrs. Jackie sets such a positive environment, and this may sound kind of crazy, but I find that the better I feel about the class, the harder I work.
Yeah, me too. And she seems to know that, so she pays attention to making me feel good about how I learn.
You know, I like it when Miss Jackie talks to me in a positive way, especially when she is helping me correct my work. I never feel embarrassed or discouraged. She really knows how to approach me, even when I need help.
Even when I don't know something, she smiles and listens to me as she helps me. Sometimes she is really funny. I've learned to laugh and actually enjoy class.
Man, it's not like some classes where I feel like I am competing with everyone else. I know in this class, I don't have to be perfect. Miss Jackie even tells me I learn from my mistakes.
That being the case, you must be really learning a lot.
Hey, I don't make that many mistakes. Actually, Miss Jackie even tells me that I'm learning a lot.
She praises me, and when she does, she tells me exactly what she's praising me for, like writing clearly or having verbs and nouns agree. Before I didn't even know they was right. I know she's not really just saying that because I have my work to prove she's right.
Well, if we intended to be the stars, we better get to class now.
I never thought of the way we approach students as an instructional strategy, but now I understand that the way students are approached, taught, and valued does make a difference in the learning experiences, makes it more effective.